bit that we can count on to do the right thing. And when Bob McDonald becomes governor, I can tell you one thing, he's not going to be like our existing governor. Bob McDonald is not going to be traveling across the United States trying to raise money to support the Democrats and liberals in Washington, D.C. Bob McDonald's not going to do that. You can count on it. Well, I've gone a little bit too long. I want to introduce and bring up a gentleman that I know a lot of you know even better than I do. You're really excited about him. I'm excited about his candidacy, and that's Senator Ken Cuccinelli. I think the best thing I can tell you about Ken is the real deal. He's the real deal. And let me tell you, I hope Ken doesn't mind me telling you this, but I remember being on the elevator one time with Ken when two of his senior colleagues were really unhappy about something he said on the floor. But Ken was, the only time, I'm sure, but he was absolutely right about the matter that he took a principled position on. And Ken is someone who always takes a principled position, even though he knows that the people outside of his party and even within his party may not like it. And I can tell you we need a lot more of that in Washington. We need a lot more of that in Richmond. Ladies and gentlemen, Ken Cuccinelli.
Well, thank you all very much. This reminds me of my first and greatest career, which was being a lifeguard. And 5 years, still haven't done better than that job. But, you know, $3.30 an hour will only get you so far for so long. So I ended up going to law school and doing some other things. And now I'm asking for your help. First, your vote, for those of you who haven't met me before, and also for your help. You've heard from some of these other folks. We have an opportunity this year, and we need to take advantage of it. I agree there are a lot of people in this country that just have this gut feeling that we're going in the wrong direction. And, you know, a lot of that has been expressed a lot in these Tea Parties, and I got to tell you, I'm going to make some quick comparisons in my race. My opponent came out yesterday or today and just attacked the Tea Party movement, period, which boo on him, you can't quote that, can you? He fundamentally misunderstands what a lot of people in Virginia are thinking about right now, and I have had a long history of being a limited government legislator. I'm going to bring that attitude to the Attorney General's office, where you have the opportunity to affect the size and scope and reach of government, the power, and you have the opportunity to fight back with Washington. In fact, you're the person who gets to decide whether Virginia is going to fight back with Washington and defend our state sovereignty when it comes to issues like right to work, the regulations they may shove down on us with cap and trade. And by the way, side note, do you all know that Greenpeace opposed cap and trade? That tells you how much it does to the environment. So make no mistake about what that bill is, cap and tax. And they're going to tell you how to run your business, and then they're going to charge you for the privilege. That's what that's about. But they're already trying to take regulatory power from the Commonwealth of Virginia and suck it up to Washington. And my opponent was repeatedly challenged in our first debate, our only debate, he's ducking them like crazy now, on right to work, on card check, on cap and trade and the regulations we may see, and on Virginia maintaining its own authority to conduct itself as a sovereign state. And he would not rise to any one of those challenges or questions. He wouldn't touch any of them. None of them. And that tells me where he is. I've seen enough politics to know that the failure to answer is often just as good as the answer. And in his case, as I'm sure Kirk and Sam and Lee can tell you, Steve has not fought for much of anything. I mean, he's been a backbencher. And there's probably not a person here who's agreed with me 100% of the time. And I might change a vote or two, so I might even be in that category. But you've always known where I stand. Those positions aren't going to change. And I fight for them. And Sam's story about the elevator, there couldn't have been any number of elevator trips, but the truth is, 90% of the time, 95% of the time, everybody on our side of the aisle is in the same place. But in that small portion of times that I consider to be points of principle, could it be property rights, it could be Second Amendment, it could be taxes, it could be regulation. There are many things it could be. I will fight for our position, for my position that I believe is right, that I hope reflects what all of you all believe. That's my goal, it's my hope. And for those of you who don't agree yet, I'm happy to have a conversation with you, and hopefully I can convince you on whatever the issue is. And it's these elections that are the time to do that. I say that because now we need you all to go and turn around to the voters of Chesterfield and tell them, change their hearts, change their minds, if they're waffling in the middle, about why our team is right. Bob McDonnell makes a great top of the ticket. I'm so pleased to be running with someone who's been a friend of mine for 7 years, who I've worked with before he got to the AG's office, as chairman of courts, on a number of issues. I remember sitting in his office working on life bills. As Attorney General, I've worked with him on property rights, worked with him on immigration issues. There are a lot of things, and as a lawyer, I've litigated against the Attorney General's office, so that's been fun too. Now I'll be defending some of these things that I was going after. But only with your help, let me rattle off some bullet points for you, because I want you to come away a little bit educated about my race. I told you about my opponent's comment about folks going to tea parties. Property rights. He's been against it every single time I've been for it. I've been leading that fight in the Senate and in the General Assembly. And let me take a side note here on Bob's race. Free deeds was the tie-breaking vote to kill property rights amendment in the Senate Privileges and Elections Committee this year. But for his vote, if he votes the other way, then it comes out on the floor of the Senate. That's free deeds on property rights. So please keep that in mind in Bob's race. In my race, Steve Shannon has voted against property rights every single time. Second Amendment. He is a Fairfax Democrat. Now, I'm a Fairfax Republican, but I think a Fairfax Democrat is a lot more descriptive term. I'm the only Fairfax Republican, so, here's what it describes, at least on the Senate side. But Steve has not been supportive of that. He, as I already described you, has not taken a position on any aspect of 10th Amendment protection for Virginia. And this is the first time we're debating the 10th Amendment in a statewide campaign. This is not something that has come up before, because we've never seen such incredible acceleration in the push for federal power down on the states. And I mean down on the states. That's never happened before, not with the speed we're seeing now. So on all of those, Steve is on Steve Shannon, delegate that serves with some of these guys here, is on the wrong side. In his first race, he attacked his Republican opponent, who was open to some sales tax increases. Then he voted for sales tax increases. He attacked his opponent for a 5% cap to real estate tax increases, because he said that was too much. Then he voted against the cap on real estate taxes. He voted with us, he voted with your guys here on the marriage amendment, and then when it was on the ballot, he flip-flopped. He came out against it 3 weeks before the vote. And Steve is a flip-flopper, but the last flop is always to his base. That's who's going to win every debate in his own head. I'm not quite sure how to describe that, but he is against right to work. He has voted against it in the House.